the DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Midday Market Report for Tuesday, March 7, 2023. The madness has begun. Glad to be back on the air. Shout out to my co-host on the Closing Bell, Riley Magnuson, for picking up the slack yesterday. Myself and Pops Dibiase, the true OG with myself, will be hitting the airwaves as we speak, talking some LA sports and some other stuff going on in today. Shout out to the ECSI VIPs, a 2-0 graded night last night, over 150.5, Chattanooga and Furman. Also, Cleveland State money line versus Wisconsin, Milwaukee. Started out 10-0 there, never looked back. Some pizza and beer money on Furman team total over 77 a hook. Great way to start the week here. I'm going to give everyone a quick little story on what's going on. In 2017, ECSI had the greatest conference tournament and March Madness run in our history. Will never be duplicated. We went 30-2, and it started today. And why I'm saying this is since 17 to 2023, so much more data is out there, so much more garbage, trash, landmines is on social media. Everyone's a professional. They go 8-1 over the weekend. Therefore, they create a site. They're a professional and they ask for money. And what I want to say is we use so many resources, so many spreadsheets. There's nothing that we don't see or miss here. And it was kind of comical because I left the game on the desk that's tipping off at 2:00. Loyola of Chicago and St. Joe's. And just a quick skinny on this. Loyola Chicago is 10-20. St. Joe's is 14-16. St. Joe's 2-0 against Loyola Chicago this year. And Loyola Chicago overnight was actually +3. This morning they went to a pick'em and then -1, now -1.5. And one of the sources that we use is pregame.com. You can run over there and take a quick peek. At 12:09. Someone went to the window and dropped 27,000 on Loyola Chicago -1. Okay. It's a nice little chunk of change. A couple of hands like this, dropped it on the window. And then at 12:09, they came back and put 37,000 on St. Joe's. Plus the one. Got to be the same person or part of this group. So they put an extra 10K. They got now the +1 instead of the pick'em of the -1. And since then, there's been another $8,000. So again, that's left on the desk. We were going to lean Loyola. We're not getting involved in any Jedi mind tricks. And I've also seen the flip at 4:30, LaSalle and Rhodey. So again, if you're late to the dam, you see all this money movement and you're chasing the steam, you're better off to go to your dry cleaners and get steam that way and then trying to figure these Jedi mind tricks out. But without further ado, let's bring him in, the true OG, someone I love to call friend, the one and only Mr. Pops Dibiase.
What's up, world? What's going on? It's the one and only Pops Dibiase, the primetime capper with the Diner Cape Cod. What's up, baby?
What is up? Let the madness begin. And before we get rolling in all the madness, I feel what better person to talk. I haven't been on the airwaves since the incident. You and I grew up with Allen Iverson. We remember the days when he played at Georgetown. We remembered the days with him at the 76ers. We remembered the phrase, practice. And now you look at today's game, today's load management, which is a joke. That's whole for another story. But again, this was coming. We could see this. There were reports months and months that Ja was leaning to the right, that Ja was the guy that could be mixed up. You come out, you potentially could be the new face of the NBA. This kid is gifted, and there's over $200 million plus waiting for him. I think it's next year. And then IG and the guns, which he has now apologized for. So far, a 2-game suspension. I haven't heard of any deals that have pulled the plug, yada, yada, yada. It's just a matter of time, and it's sad. Hopefully, he can get out of that circle and see what his real future looks like versus the left spot.
Well, $231 million will make you change up a lot of things in your life. You know what I mean, Jeff? Pretty much. And the money hasn't even kicked in yet. And the guy is literally, he doesn't care. But the thing is, though, this bad behavior has been influenced by the actual media itself, because we've had a real problem the last few years. And nobody likes Jason Whitlock, but he did bring up a good point on who they're starting to hire now as the analyst for these talking head shows and for these podcasts and for these ESPN programmings and things like that. These guys are kind of unsavory characters in a sense. You know what I mean? They all had some baggage too in their NBA careers. So this whole he's a real one, and you ain't gonna play that game with them, and all that bravado that they always are talking about on ESPN, NBA, and all that stuff. Then all of a sudden, everybody wants to be Preacher Paulie at the pulpit once he gets in trouble. Oh, people need to talk to him. People need to advise him. But y'all were saying last week he's living his best life. Let him be a kid. He's young. I say it's young energy. That's all it is. Young energy is a dangerous thing. It truly is. We all dealt with it. We all dealt with young energy. For the people calling John Morant an absolute idiot, no. Let's go ahead and go back to when you were 24, Mr. Perfect. You know what I mean? Mrs. Perfect. No, you weren't perfect. You were making probably even worse mistakes than John Morant did. John Morant, it's bad behavior that doesn't get questioned. Now it's getting questioned. Ja has been on a path like this since last season. You're skipping. I call it the gritty. I call it skipping. And you're skipping up and down the court, and you're kind of doing things to the opponent that will get you beat up in the 80s or 90s. But seeing this new NBA, you gotta let it go, because that's just kind of a part of the way that we do things in this world. The trolling and the constant badgering, the constant nitpicking and picking on, and it doesn't have any ramifications because nobody's going upside your head about it. So you're gonna just continue to do it. And I think the biggest problem is his father. His father has became his best friend instead of being his father. And he knows that this behavior was getting bad. But how can you notice the behavior getting bad if your behavior is just as bad? You're on the sidelines, drunk, each game, talking loud, having a good time with with all of his buddies that seem to travel with him everywhere as well too, Jeff. What kind of stuff is that? Could you see Jordan with his 7 guys? There's eight buddies that he goes on vacations with. No, because they all have actual jobs. They all work in corporate America. Kobe Bryant, his friends as well too. Oh, they all got jobs too. They all got to go over to wake up in the morning and produce movies and produce TV shows. Those were their friends. But when you got Willie and Mo Pete from the neighborhood, these guys, they go nowhere. You're their income. You're their money. So they're never going to tell you that you're messing up. They're going to encourage. They're going to laugh about it, because as long as it doesn't mess up their money, they're fine. So, back to his father, that he's the total opposite of LeVar. They try to say, oh, he's just like LeVar. LeVar didn't drink or smoke, and LeVar is a personality. He'll act a little crazy, but he's like Charles Barkley. You know what I mean? That type of personality. You know what I mean? And people really like him at the end of the day. Everybody I've ever met from Chino, they love LeVar. LeVar could be the mayor of that city if he wants to be, because they understand where he's coming from, because they totally understand who he is, because he's explained who he is. Well, T. Morant is a guy that is like the dad in Next Friday, Uncle Willie. You know, you hit the jackpot. So now you don't know how to act at all. You know what I mean? And I thought that we had a major problem when his father jumped into that situation. And even when Ja jumped into that situation with Shannon Sharp. You don't act like that at basketball games, Jeff. You just it doesn't matter what's going on the sideline, things of that nature. It's just that's some street stuff that's going on. No, what are we doing here? You know, it's a basketball game. It's not about you and being extra. You know what I mean? And I just really think that Ja's pops is not doing his job as his confidant, his I would like to say consigliere, because that's what your father becomes for you if you're really close. When you get that much money, after a while, they got to guide you in the right way. And people say, "What's a consigliere?" Watch Tom Godfather, and that's who Tom Hayden is. Okay, that's the person that's supposed to help you guide your decisions in the correct way. But if he's a yes man to what you're doing too, we all fell in here. You know what I mean? And I think that Ja the lesson has been learned. And I seriously know one thing: if David Stern was still the commissioner, Ja would have been suspended already for 20 games, straight up, as soon as the gun got shown. Then and it wouldn't even say 20. He would have said indefinite, and then we'll come back and talk to you when I'm ready. Yeah, that's what type of commissioner that David Stern was. But Adam Silver is a commissioner that really caters towards these guys, and he really feels like he's the guy that he doesn't want to look bad. You know what I mean? So they take advantage of a weak commissioner, in my humble opinion. And I think that when your team has to step in and suspend you, the writing's on the wall that we have a serious problem here. Because all in all, if it wasn't that serious of a problem, Memphis wouldn't have asked him to be away from the team for 2 games, and he wouldn't have been away from the team for 2 games because he's playing in LA. Come on, you don't want to miss the LA trip. Come on, dude. So that's my 2 cents. I don't want to go too far on it. And you did me a favor. Now I don't have to talk about it on my show. I got to talk about it on your show.
And listen, I'm not a big fan of. I'm a fan of Shannon. I'm not a big fan of Skip, as you know. And I think Shannon was spot on with the fact that he says you're showing guns, you're gonna get called out. It's like the crying wolf. Sooner or later, you talk the talk, someone's gonna step up on you and call you out on. Oh, you like to play with guns? Well, do you use the gun? You know what I mean? And I know Ja will have his people around him. He won't, hopefully, God willing, get caught up in the madness. We go back to the story after the game at the nightclub with the red dot and all. I mean, just a lot of bad looks. God willing, this was the wake-up call. I'm not saying that it's Allen Iverson's job to reach out to him, because those are 2 separate individuals. But I think it's a similar situation where, listen, Allen was one of the best players of all time, and especially take a look at his size, looked at him, how he played, the grittiness at Georgetown, how he played at the Sixers. Listen, I'm not saying I probably want to stop right there, because the guy left his heart on the floor, but again, his growing up, the people that you surround yourself with, and it was said perfectly, Pops. The NBA knows everything. They know every move you make. They got people watching. They got FBI. Because they're a billion dollar brand. And they don't want their money messed up. And they're not going to let 1 or 2 bad apples mess it up. They slapped them on the wrist this time, okay? If this thing keeps going in the wrong direction, they will step in.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. And the NBA, you know what? The NBA is really going to go ahead and they're going to do a full check on themselves, because they've allowed this type of behavior that was absolutely taken away 20 years ago. When Iverson came out with the cornrows, things like that, they were wearing way too much baggy shit before the game. And then he says, okay, everybody got to wear suits. Everybody has to be dressed casual, things of that nature. Because if you're not dressed casual, then I'm going to fine you. Then here we go. Adam Silver comes in and says, well, it's new times and it's free and all this other stuff. And then, as I keep saying, you got ESPN that keeps selling this new rap culture. Rap culture is very toxic at this point in time. It's no longer a message to it anymore. You know what I mean? It's just more about the guns, the drugs, and making a whole bunch of money. And I don't think that any player in basketball should be getting influenced by anybody that's in hip hop. In the 90s, it worked because it was a message that was going on. It was a good time. It was really a great time for the overall Black culture that was being upgraded at that time. So there was a lot of great things in motion for us. But that genre and that art form of music has been tainted and has been taken into a different aspect. They literally have went and killed it. You know what I mean? So they have it at the point now where it's about how good you look and not really about your talent. So that's where we get a lot of things confused. But I think my biggest thing with Ja and the people talking about Ja's situation is Skip Bayless should really not talk about gang stuff on TV. I'm gonna give you a great example, Jeff. I call you the Don of Cape Cod. I call you that for a reason because I know who you were connected to in your younger days and things like that. You know what I mean? And Jeff, that would be sloppy of me knowing you. And Jeff, me and you got into a situation in the club and it's on live and all that stuff. And then I come back and say, well, Jeff is a part of the Kimprasi family. And, the Kimprasi family, if you're throwing it up this way, then, the Kimprasi family. Look, you just put him on even more high alert. Oh, he was throwing up Crip in the club. So what Crip side is he from? And he's wearing a rag during the game. Now we're talking about all this. We said that this was a bad behavior when we saw it the first time, but you guys laughed about it. You guys said he's a real one. And, he's about that life. And you guys laughed about it. It's nothing to laugh about when you're doing gangster stuff, man. Stop. The gangster lifestyle is not a joking lifestyle. Go to any penitentiary in America and ask them, was it a joke when they got through in there for 30 years? You know what I mean? So, Skip, I know you're not listening or watching, but people who love Skip Bayless, you might want to tell him that you don't bring up gang affiliations on national television if you have no clue what you're talking about. And anybody who knows what they're talking about knows to not even mention that on TV. So that's where I really feel bad for Ja, because they are really trying to crucify this guy. And it's for the sake of journalism. And that's the only way that these journalists can really sell these shows is by giving you the shock value thing. So they're going knee deep into their research. And, most times they don't have a clue what they're talking about. They're only giving you 25% of what they're only giving you 25% because that's all they know. And, at the end of the day, I like to say it is what it is, but Ja Morant can't fix this because Allen Iverson was a different monster. It was a different issue. He had a mother who was who was very, flamboyant and very, as we like to say, hood. And he had a lot of people around him that depended on his money. And so pretty much what happened is that Iverson's trying to regulate people that ain't never had no money. And that was what the problem was, is that he wasn't taking care of himself. He was taking care of everybody else. And they made him feel like he was the king of the poor people. And what happens is when you're the king of the poor people, eventually they eat you alive. And that's what it is, man. So I'm done before they take me off the air, because they might be trying to call me Whitlock Jr. after this one. But I don't think I said anything too bad. Did I, Jeff?
Not yet. You didn't get gonged or beeped, or the alarms didn't go sounded. Right. Let's segue.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff. I'm done.
No, you're fine. We'll stay here because I want to get into some more of the college hoop via the floor. When you on every week, we like to talk to get a temperature in the LA temperature arena. We talked this week, obviously, LeBron getting hurt. It's the AD show. You guys were just rounded in form, and I firmly believe that you were not going to play in the play-in game, that you would get to that 7 or 8 spot. LeBron out, and they're saying they're going to check back in 3 weeks. It almost sounds like, hey, if you're out of the race, you're probably going to shut him down for the year. What are you hearing? What's going on with LeBron? And give us the LA Laker temperature report.
Well, the Lakers right now are very confident in themselves. As of today, the Lakers are right now, if we start the playoffs, the Lakers are a playing team. They're at the 10 hole. That's exactly where they want to be. Now the teams that are falling apart at the right time, and the Lakers are hitting their stride at the right time. Since the Lakers were 2-10, the Lakers have had one of the better records in the NBA. Let's not play that game. The Lakers literally right now are 29, and the Lakers will be 29 and 22 since that point. So that's not bad at all. That's actually pretty good in a Western Conference that literally everybody has the same situation going on from about 4 to 11. You know, it's not that far apart. It's a very, very, very tight race. I've never seen a race this tight for the playoffs. And when you add in these 2 extra teams, it makes it even that much tighter. So, you know, I feel like teams that are having their gut check moment right now are the Clippers and the Mavericks, for sure. Those teams were 5 and 6. Now they're 7 and 8, and they just keep losing. The Lakers literally were sitting at 13 for the last month, but they were heavy in a logjam with Portland and Oklahoma City, who both have been in the play-ins multiple times this year when it comes down to it. But the Lakers were never in a play-in situation till right now. So the Lakers are probably, when you look at the 5 hottest teams in the NBA, or the 5 teams that are trending upwards, the Lakers are one of those teams. Losing LeBron, yes, that's a big deal, but LeBron's 38 years old. You're not getting the LeBron from 2010. You're not getting the LeBron from 2011. You're not getting LeBron from 2012. You're not getting that Bron. You're getting the Bron that is 38 years old and who's conquered the mountain multiple times in the NBA. And literally, the NBA is so easy right now. The NBA is not evolving into being a better league. It's turning into a worse league. Because when we're over here awarding Jokic for playing the basics of basketball, then we got a real problem here. You know what I mean? He's the MVP because he plays basketball the way basketball is supposed to be played. Like literally, like it's not that hard, you know. But is he really the MVP? No, he is not. I would say you got to get if you really were giving out the MVP every year, LeBron would be your MVP. It's just he does everything that the most valuable players are supposed to do. All these when they give it to somebody else, it's literally charity. So LeBron is at the point now to where he's a luxury for the Lakers, in my opinion. The Lakers have to buckle down and understand that they got to win with AD. AD is seen as the top guy. AD makes the most money on the team, so you're the top guy. Whoever makes the most money on the team, you're the top guy. They brought AD in for the long term. They have LeBron there for the short term. They wanted LeBron to get it started, and they wanted AD to then take the reins and move on to some more successful years as they have him at his best as well, too. So AD is really the one getting tested right now at this point, and they provided him with the right type of role players. Jared Vanderbilt plays defense. You have D'Angelo Russell, once he's healthy, is a guy that loves to do pick and roll, and he's a dangerous shooter who can get 40 in any game that he's playing in. That's absolutely incredible. That's where you say, okay, that's all right that I don't have LeBron when you have that guy on the court. Then you have Malik Beasley, who's been a godsend at the 3-point line because the way that he goes about it, that you feel confident every time the guy shoots the ball. You truly do. And then you got a good backup, and nobody's talking about it as much as they should. And Mo Bamba. Mo Bamba can shoot from the outside. He got some good inside game. And Mo Bamba plays really good defense. And you can tell that Mo Bamba is very spirited now because he's now getting playing time and he gets to play in Los Angeles. It's a big, big difference playing in Los Angeles and playing for the lowly Orlando Magic, who really have been rebuilding since Shaq left. So pretty much, the Lakers at this point right now, they're confident and they're confident in themselves to get to the goal. And tonight is one of their tougher games because you have a Memphis team that doesn't have John Morant. And you have a Memphis team that played the lights out to me the other night, scored 51 points in the third quarter with no Ja against the Clippers. So I think that team is pretty pissed off that the so-called face of the franchise, the leader of their team, has let them down because literally they need him for this stretch run to solidify the second seed. Memphis might mess around the way that things have been going for Memphis the last 6 weeks. Memphis might mess around and be a 5 or 6 seed at the end of all this. They were at one point the 1 seed. Same thing goes for New Orleans, who was the 1 seed for a few minutes there when Zion was still healthy. So that's how crazy the Western Conference has been. The only team that's not in jeopardy of falling apart at this moment is Denver. Anybody else that goes on a losing streak that's from 2 to 11, they're done. They're through. They're out of this thing almost. You know what I mean? So everybody is playing really tight right now. So everybody's in the same boat, it seems like. And it seems like we're all fighting on one battlefield with Denver kind of just ahead of everybody, kind of laughing because they know that they've been going through this and they've been seen as a pretty overrated team in a sense, but at the end of the day, they figured out how to win, how to take care of their business in the regular season. Why? Because they got the 2-time MVP. The game has gotten really easy to Jokic. And so at the end of the day, the Lakers are in prime position to get exactly where they need to get to. And yes, the 6th seed is still very possible, but the Lakers have to go on a nice win streak. And I say this, the Lakers really do need to win all 5 games here at home. They've already won their first, they've already split the first 2. I think that they need to win these next 3 in a row. They got Memphis tonight, you got Toronto Friday, then you got the Knicks Sunday. This is actually a pretty good week for you to go ahead and take care of your business and get yourself right where you need to be, possibly move up to that 10 or 9 seed as well too this week. The focus is about winning right now. You got to win. You know what I mean? The most important 23 games of my career. Yeah, okay, that goes for everybody that's here because at the end of the day, you see how fast you can be a Laker and you see how fast you won't be a Laker. They replaced the whole team in 1 week. Think about that, Jeff. When we made all those trades, literally they got rid of 7 players in the process as well too. All the guys who were being useless at this time: Pat Beverly, Kendrick Nunn, and the most useless of them all, Toscano Anderson. Like that guy literally was just trying to be a star in LA, like literally an actual star, not a basketball player. The guy just wants to be on TV and on print ads and things of that nature. He just want to be pretty. Jonathan Williams gone, and Thomas Bryant. I don't like the way that things are going, but you out of here too. So they replaced all these guys in the week, and the Lakers became that much better of a team because you got guys playing defense and you got guys that can hit open shots. Oh, yeah, and they got rid of Russell Westbrook that took all that losing over to the Clippers. And I said that, was it Russ? It couldn't have just been Russ. But then when you see the Clippers are only, 1-5 since you got there, it's like, well, it might not be the way that Russ plays, but it's just about the style that Russ goes about the game. And so it kind of rubs off on the next team as well, too. It is what it is at the end of the day. But that's where I'm going with that one, Jeff. But the Lakers are in good shape, man. That's how I'm feeling. I'm positive. If it was last month with the team that they had, I'll probably say, you know what, the playoffs is going to be difficult. But with this group right here, the group is totally different. And if the Lakers can really get their bearings to them, they're going to be dangerous in the playoffs as well, too, as long as LeBron gets back. But, Jeff, you got it right on the money. It's all about how the Lakers play over the next few weeks, if he's going to come back or not. LeBron is 38 years old, and I think that he's telling himself that I don't want to go ahead and risk next season because if I can't play next season, then I'm going to have to retire because there's no point in keep on going forward. But, LeBron, listen to your boy. Me and you are the same age, even though I graduated a year before you. just don't play when they draft your son. Don't do that to Bronny, man. Just don't do that to Bronny. You know, I understand King Griffey Sr. did that because King Griffey Sr. still had a house to pay for. You know what I mean? And I understand that part, and he still has something. And see, old MLB, if you still had a little something left, Jeff, at 39, it was okay. Go get that quick little $750,000. You know what I mean? And you playing on damn near expansion team with the Seattle Mariners, so it was all good. You know what I mean? But LeBron, don't take too much away from your son, man. And also, Bronny's not ready for the NBA. Sorry, I know LeBron is preaching, but LeBron, you're a terrible GM and you're a terrible coach. Just know that. So no, your son's not ready for the NBA. Everybody that you've ever said was ready for the NBA was not ready for the NBA, and they out the NBA now. You saw what happened with Ben Simmons. LeBron swore Ben Simmons was the next him. Ben Simmons is out the league after this year. Nobody's picking up Ben Simmons anymore. He is done. He is through. He's just a big liability on your payroll. That's all he is. He's free money, baby. Free money. See, guys like that need to pay their money back because you didn't play. Like I'm telling you, NBA gonna have to change. The NBA is gonna probably change some rules. If you're not playing, we not paying. That's
coming. They're going to work on that load. They're going to work on the load management thing.
That's
real. Let's switch gears, Pops. Listen, I've been doing my homework since August. I've seen peaks. I've seen valleys. Like you, I know good teams when I see them. I was sitting on the couch on a Thursday way back in the day before cable and watched the O'Bannon brothers for the first time on late night, Thursday night Pac-12 basketball. I said, those guys are cutting the nets down. And it took a coast-to-coast Tyus Edney to get them through round one to get them, obviously, eventually to the promised land. I know everyone says this is the year 15, 20 teams can cut the nets down. I get it. I've come to the conclusion that there's going to be a lot of Cinderellas in the first weekend. There'll probably be some Cinderellas in the Thursday, Friday of the second weekend. But I really think when the dust settles and we're looking at the Final Four, you're going to have at least two number ones. You're probably going to have a number 2 or number 3 and probably a number 5, 6, or 7 seed. My point is here, anyone listening, anyone that's not an ECSI VIP member, listen, guys, please go to the window right now, this second. It's 1:49 p.m., March 7th on Tuesday. Just, I don't care if it's pizza and beer money. Just go grab your 6-1 on Houston, okay? And I'm not saying they're going to cut the nets down, but I am telling you this. They have veteran leadership. They got a great coach. They can beat you 79-78, or they can beat you 49-48. And there's not many teams in the country that can do that other than the team that we're going to talk about right now, Pops, the UCLA Bruins.
Well, I just feel like when you talk about Houston, you talk about UCLA, you talk about real college basketball. That's how college basketball is supposed to be played, straight up. When you're the best team in college basketball, you play just like that. We spent a lot of time with the Fab Five gave everybody this illusion that it's great to have all the All-Americans on one team. It's not. It's really not, because who really wants to be the man? That's the question. And I feel like with UCLA, they have this thing where when we rotate who the man is going to be. Same thing with Houston. Because this is college basketball, it's a rotational sport, and it's all about the team. It's not about the individual. And we've returned to that point in college basketball where they're not worried about the Kevin Durant's of the world to go 1-on-5 against somebody, or OJ Mayo and Bill Walker to go out there and go 2-on-5 against everybody. This super superb AAU talent that should be in the NBA right now. We're over that phase in basketball because now everybody realizes you ain't good enough to be one and done. Those special players are done with. The NBA has gotten so good that there is no room for little boys to be playing in the league. So, and I know everybody says, but they still got 20 and 21 year olds. But you see who they play for. The Houston Rockets are absolutely dreadful. They got 15 wins right now in the season. So UCLA absolutely crushed it after those 2 losses in a row. The Arizona game, that was kind of like, okay, what is UCLA all about? Because it was a big national game. This game was on ABC. The game wasn't on ESPN. The game was on ABC. So everybody watched the game. It was no excuse about watching the game. It was a local television game, local national game. So they didn't look too great that day, but they only lost because they didn't have a lot of offense that day. Then the arch rival USC, who they already had a crazy game with a few weeks before that, USC, they jump out to a 12-point lead on USC. USC then has a great effort from Boogie Ellis, their star player. Boogie Ellis goes absolutely ape in the second half, and they couldn't recover. UCLA has their worst loss of the season. But peep this, Jeff. UCLA has given up 80 points once, and that was to Baylor. Come on, we all know about Baylor. Baylor is got street credibility. That's the national champions from a few years back. Probably one of the most thorough national championship wins I've seen in my lifetime, too, as well. A lot people don't talk enough about how great that Baylor win was. That was the return to the essence of basketball right there. That was where, hey, you know what? You big diva teams with all your All-Americans and all your top 10 players, it don't matter. You're going to get beat by the guys that work harder. And that's exactly what happened in that game with Gonzaga, who was supposed to be winning their first national championship that day, because everybody thought that Gonzaga team was UNLV 1990 reborn. And they were far from that, Jeff. You know that. So UCLA, Jaime Jaquez is a guy that just won Player of the Year. You got Jalen Clark, just won Defensive Player of the Year. Bona just won Freshman of the Year. So you have a team full of stars. Would I say that the Pac-12 was a little down this year? Yep. But when you beat up Maryland and Kentucky back to back the way that UCLA did, you are more than prepared for this tournament, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And they had their little fall off early in the year. Vegas weekend, it happens because you were kind of trying to depend on the freshman a little bit, and Amari Bailey, you're trying to make him the top scorer, but then you realize that, you know what, the freshman got to earn his way, and that's exactly what the seniors said to themselves and to him. That's why Jaime and Tiger said, you know what, we got to take control of this team. We're not going to fall back because you're some big 5-star player that played at Sierra Canyon with LeBron James' son, and your mom's like one of the hottest women on the planet. So we're not going to fall back for any of that. You know what I mean? And so pretty much, UCLA, they're so good because they've been there and done that. They've had success. You know what I mean? And they're rare because you don't stick around in college basketball anymore. Get to the Final Four, everybody thinks they're NBA ready. They didn't do that. And now Johnny Juzang is feeling like a damn idiot right now because this is not a great draft coming up this year. So Johnny Juzang would have been a top 10 pick this year if he'd have stuck around. Mm-hmm. But, he settled to be a second round G League player and literally just got his first time on the court a week ago. I was like, see, this is the problem with whoever's instructing these guys to go to the next level. If you know your talent is great enough to get your draft stock boosted like back in the day, why leave school? Stop running to the NBA. The NBA is not going anywhere. If you got game, they'll come and get you. If they want you, they'll get you. And I think that, pretty much if they had Johnny Juzang, it wouldn't be no question will UCLA be the number 1 team in the nation. You know what I mean? That's how good UCLA is because they're a team that you look at them and say they have no weaknesses but themselves. The only team that can beat UCLA is UCLA. And that's how it's looked in all 4 of their losses this season, Jeff. Every single one of their losses, they were up at least 6 points or better and found a way to beat themselves in that game. But I just feel like with the way that Jaime and Tiger and David are so focused that everybody falls in line on what's going on, especially Tiger and Jaime. You know what I mean? Because Jaime is like, a poor man's Mexican Larry Bird. Seriously. He's the Mexican Larry Bird. I've never seen a Mexican guy play basketball as good as he plays, dude. Dunking, everything. I know everybody's like, nah, hurrah. Nah, hurrah was a try hard. Jaime got game. Jaime got game. You know what I mean? So, it is what it is. But UCLA is looking real Final Four national championship ready. But UCLA is the type of team, though, they're gonna have to really take their time because matchups are everything. And I think that UCLA, let's keep it real. I think UCLA absolutely would have gave Kansas a run for. They would have played Kansas in the national championship if they would have beat North Carolina. Literally, that was a de facto Final Four game, in my opinion, early in the Sweet 16, because the winner of that game plays in the national championship, and that was North Carolina. And UCLA, man, they were really close to winning that game last year, and I know that's all they think about. That's all they think about, Jeff, is that game against North Carolina. And I don't want to feel like that again. And that's what you need to win a national championship. That's exactly what Virginia used to win their national championship, losing the first round, first seed to lose to a 16 seed. They used that as total motivation into the next season and marched to a national championship. And they're the same type of team, high end defensively and very patient offensively. And it has all the makings of being a national champion right now. And Houston, real quick with them, Houston, as I always say, that's the grown man committee right there, being coached up by a great coach in Kelvin Sampson. And Kelvin Sampson has taken advantage of the area of Houston having such high-end basketball players as well, too. All those guys are local. All those guys are from around the area. So that's why it's really good, because Texas as a whole has became a better grounds for prep basketball, because Texas is becoming one of the more popular states in the country. It was always a popular state, but a lot of people are starting to bring their whole family there. Like, a lot of people are starting to move to the state of Texas. So that's why I know that has enhanced as well, too, from just them being some country boys that played it for some stamina for their football, to now they have actual basketball players in the state of Texas. So, there's a lot of things that work out very well for these teams, and the way that they dominate their conferences as well, too. That just goes to tell me that these teams are absolutely ready for what's next. But I still like your UConn boys, because they probably went through the biggest struggle conference-wise, because they're playing in a conference that's deservingly six teams deserve to be in the tournament in that group. You know what I mean? They want to keep Seton Hall and Villanova out, but one of them is going to get in there, if not both of them. They may put 7 teams from the Big East in the tournament, because that's how good the Big East is, and we know that the Big East is always going to be an issue for you. We saw that earlier in the year when the Big 12 and Big East had their little competition game that they have now as well, too. Nobody talks about it. It's the Gavitt games, but come on. Butler absolutely crushed Kansas State. Kansas State was top 10 most this year. That goes to show you how good the Big East is, but they don't talk about it enough.
What I'm afraid of, and again, I look at UCLA and Houston in the same level. I got Houston just a notch above them. Anyone that wants to play a slower pace, in my eyes, can't match up with these two teams come a full 40 minutes. Now, what does worry me for both of those two teams is an Alabama-type team that likes to get up and down and that can shoot the lights out. UConn in November beat Alabama by 13, I think it was. And why? Because they locked them down. Alabama wasn't hitting. But and I know this, Alabama is one of these teams that if they're on and they're clicking, I hate to say it, they pound for pound probably are the best team in the country. I just think with all the stuff going on with Brandon Miller, the last few games they've been tested. I think they'll get to the second week, and I think someone will pick them off. My UConn team, I got plus 350 to win the Big East tournament. I think they're going to win the Big East tournament. Unfortunately, if they win their first game, I think then most likely they'll get paired up with Marquette. The winner of that game should win the Big East tournament. With that said, Shaka's done an amazing job there. I think Creighton, as up and down season as they've had this year, I think they're going to be a tough outcome March in the big tournament. Xavier, I think, peaked too much. And then, Sean Miller's done a good job with them. But I think the Big East will be well represented. But circling back to UCLA and Houston, just, they got to be, that team that's supposed to be that gets hot. It might be a small team, a smaller version of them. But I think they're battle tested. I love both their coaches, obviously Sampson and Cronin. I still can't wrap my head around Kansas. I know they'll probably still be there. I'm just saying no to Purdue, thanks, but no thanks. The one team I did believe that would possibly do some damage in the dance in the Big Ten was Indiana. Now maybe they peaked a little too early. I said the same about Baylor. They're struggling now. It's going to be an amazing tournament, and obviously you and I will be doing a lot more of this as we get closer to that there. All right, let's last 15 minutes, let's wrap it up. WBC starts tonight. Dodgers, give us the Dodger report. The Red Sox are undefeated. We might as well just not even play the season. Get your Red Sox futures to win the AL East, to win the AL, to win the World Series. And I have 2 birds for sale as well. They're going nowhere, guys. Trust me on that. But give us your Dodger report, Pops.
All right, Dodgers right now. Ryan Pepio looked pretty good in spring training the other day. We also got some good innings out of Syndergaard yesterday as well too, in a blowout win. Spring training is practice for me, is practice, but the Dodgers have been decent here in spring training. They're 6-4-2, I think, right now, 7-4-2, something of that nature. But they're going about their business. We got Vargas, who's actually on a non-hit situation. The guy he has not been cleared by doctors to actually swing a bat. So literally, he's just going up to the plate and just getting to know the MLB on a full-time scale. You know what I mean? So pretty much, I think that's pretty good though. Harold Reynolds talked about that the other day, that rookies usually don't get to swing a bat the first 2 weeks at spring training, so they can learn how to track a ball and exactly what to expect, things like that, tendencies, things like that, so they don't get too over aggressive and then come up with bad tendencies. So it's always a learning thing. So sometimes, these overcritical sports fans don't understand that that's a part of the teaching as well too. So that's why we do practice. That's why y'all love MLB, because they really take time to try to develop every little intricacy that you need in the sport. You know what I mean? And it might be something that's really, really simple, like just rolling the ball to somebody, but you do it 1,000 times. When that ball gets hit to you, then that becomes a routine situation. In baseball, you want to make everything routine. So that's exactly what they're doing with Vargas at this point. Also, from what I can see here, the Dodgers are fixing their situation somewhat in the outfield. It looks like Eddie Alvarez might be somebody that gets a lot of attention there. I know Trace Thompson is somebody that's been playing pretty good here in spring and is working to get a starting job. He literally was the reason why Cody Bellinger went to the bench, because his bat was that good last year at the end of the year. But I think still that was a big reason why the Dodgers lost, because they went out of just going with the group that got you here, and they wanted to make, press buttons at the wrong time, in my opinion. And I think that this year they don't have to cater to hoping that Cody Bellinger gets his average back up. So that's good for Doc. You know what I mean? Because, we love Cody, but we didn't want to do Cody like the Raiders did Derek Carr, where you just throw a valuable asset away. You know what I mean? And shout out to Derek Carr for doing the obvious thing that we all knew you were going to do. I knew that you were going to do this the moment that they told you to go home, that you was going to go get with your old coach, Dennis Allen, who another person that got exiled from Raider Island, and y'all going to get together because, you had a sweet revenge game of kicking your butt 30-0, and y'all going to get together and have the sweetest revenge ever and probably be playing in the conference championship next year. You know what I mean? That'd be a big FU to Mark Davis and the Raiders. But it reminds me a lot of when Marcus Allen left the Raiders. It's just like it's a lot of uncalled for situations. You know what I mean? So Dodgers, though, Dodgers are just going with the flow, and I think that a lot of things are just at this point right now. The Dodgers are just worried about making sure that everybody's comfortable. They're not they're not going to rush a thing this year, Jeff. In my opinion, they're not going to go out there and try to you know fix everything in April, and try to get back. And they know what time it is. This is a marathon, not a sprint. So, do I expect the Dodgers to kind of get off to a slow start this year? Yep. I ain't gonna front, Jeff. I think that it'll be a slow start, not because the pitching, it'll be more of a slow start because the hitting's gonna have to catch up with itself. You know what I mean? The Dodgers pitching is always A1. And then putting the time clock in and made the Dodgers pitching even better because the Dodgers already do have guys that do pitch and keep it and actually pitch pretty fast. So we got a lot of things working out in the right direction for the Dodgers. But I say we take it one day at a time. There's nothing to rush into. The Dodgers are a team that understand that they are a top team in this league. There are expectations, but you don't need to rush a thing. You don't, because this is a 162 game league and you have time. You definitely have time. Spring training, we're working things out. We're making things routine. And the Dodgers are really special because they got some of the best coaches in baseball as well, too. Some of the best baseball minds in baseball. See, that's why teams like the Royals and the Rays and all these teams never are consistently good. They only have a few years of being good because they don't have great legends that are around the teams. You know what I mean? That are constantly talking to you are great just coaches. I've come to notice that, Jeff. You know what I mean? It's all about how your organization builds a team. The St. Louis Cardinals literally never have like the world beaters lineup or anything like that, but they're one of the more consistent teams in all of baseball over my lifetime. You know what I mean? Because they have a system. Every baseball team that has a system in place is good. Every baseball team that doesn't have a system in place is pretty bad. So, it is what it is at the end of the day. The Dodgers system just keeps going. And this year is I wouldn't call it a rebuild year. I would call it a revamp year, where a lot of old faces are now being turned out for a lot of new faces. But these new faces, we've been waiting on them for a while to come on up. You know what I mean? So they're not really new faces. It's just that now we get to deal with the puppy. Now we got to deal with the puppies because the big dogs is gone. You know how it goes, Jeff. But real quick though, I'm gonna talk about the Angels on my show today, and I just want to talk about the Astros. 30 seconds. Astros. It all depends on their health. If the Astros are healthy this season, nobody beats them. But the Astros have any health problem where some key players out for an extended amount of time, oh boy, here comes a little bit of trouble. But from looking at them, they probably have the easiest path to a division title out of all the teams that are favorites to win their division, in my opinion. The East will be tough. The Central is going to be a monster between three teams. And then the West, you tell yourself, who can really challenge the Astros? And you say, okay, maybe Seattle. But Seattle is a key injury away from being a disaster. Then you say maybe the interstate rival, the Rangers, can get it. DeGrom already has a bad side. That's already almost out. That's almost out the window as well, too. Then the A's ain't worried about winning. The A's literally are the A's are right now are worried more about where they're going to be at in the next 5 years. I'm talking about home-wise, because they're getting out of the Oakland Coliseum fairly soon. And then you got the good old Angels, who I'm going to talk about today. The elephant in the room. Everybody knows that the Angels could have been the best team in the damn AL West. They got the biggest payroll. They got the richest owner. They got the best scenario. How can a team waste Albert Pujols and Mike Trout in the same lineup? That's Mike. I mean, Jet. Literally, how do you waste those two? How do you waste those two?
It's called no pitching. It's called no back end. In other words, they got left at the altar with Garrett Cole. They thought they'd bring Madden in and that they were going to be able to get Cole. And Cole used the Angels to then go sign with the Yankees. And the rest is history. But the problem is their front end starters are not strong and long enough because they're always injured, and their bridges and their back end is a disaster. And I'm glad you brought up the Angels, because I will say this, other than their front end pitching and their back end, which is disastrous again, which don't forget, the Phillies back end last year sucked too till the second half. And then obviously the playoff run. I will just say this, the Angels go as far as Anthony Rendon is healthy. You add Anthony Rendon, you add Michael Trout, you add Shohei, you add Tyler Ward, and they're getting long and longer. We're still waiting on, I got a brain fart now, Mr. He's always had two good springs. He's bulked up another 20 pounds. I'll think of his name. Their batting order is going to be good. Again, Anthony has to stay healthy, but I didn't mean to jump in on you on that, but I think the Angels are sneaky.
Yeah, and my whole point is the Angels are probably the only
Joe Adell.
Yep. And Odell is a guy that they've been waiting on. But all in all, the Angels, to me, it's their world. It's up to them. Do you want to break through? Do you want to break through, or do you want to just keep watching the Astros dominate? You know what I mean? And a lot of people are like, "Nope, I don't see the Astros losing." But we can't talk like that in baseball. We just can't, because baseball is so unpredictable. The best teams wind up, when somebody gets hurt or some type of situation happens in the dugout, then we might have a little trouble here. So that's what I'm saying. Houston's no guarantee to win the West, but if anybody has an easy path to a title, it's them, a division title. You know what I mean? Because I looked at all the divisions and I said to myself, the NL East is tough, but it's the Mets world. You know what I mean? Because the Braves are kind of revamping the team, because the Braves are settled with winning a championship a few years ago. The Braves are a type of team, they don't chase the big free agents anymore like they used to in the old Maddox and Avery days and John Smoltz days, where they were trying to be highly competitive like the Yankees. They build within. You know what I mean? They build from the ground up with the minor league system. Then you have the Nationals, who aren't going to do anything because they pretty much gave away the whole team because they overspent on all these players that wound up not sticking around anyway. Then Philly is a team that's going to put too much pressure on themselves and find a way to mess this thing up. And then, pretty much you got the Marlins. Sit there, Audrey. It's like you want to just play the music from Scarface when it comes to them, because you never know how it's just all it takes is maybe a win streak, and then the Marlins might be in this thing. Because if the Marlins can figure out how to win consistently, everybody in the East is in trouble because they got the pitching. They just don't have the hitting consistently. Yeah, so, but I ended there because I don't want to predict way too hard, you know what I mean, or what's going on. And I don't have nothing for the Central yet, but I'll figure it out soon.
Last question, because this used to be Friday nights for us, which we're going to get back to someday, somehow. Maybe next season we'll have to make sure of this. If I told you currently at the Circa, the Manhattan Jaspers are -3.5 versus Marist tonight at 10 o'clock, you would say,
give me the money line, because I can't, because it's the Metro tournament and Manhattan is playing the nightcap and they're gonna make things a little spicy. But I got my group though. It's Canisius today, it's St. Pete's, and it's gonna be Manhattan. Parlay them all money line. There you go, Jeff.
Pops, the scroll has been going. The scroll has been going the whole time at Pops Dibiase, at Prime Wave Media. I know you as the primetime capper, the true OG of gambling Twitter. We put the O and the G in your pocket, and we've been there since 90% of these kids were probably even born. But tell everyone where they can follow all your work, Pops.
They can follow me on the Twitter, as you guys can see, at Pops Dibiase. You guys can go on Instagram, hit me up at DibiaseWave _. You guys can also email me at primewavemedia@yahoo.com if you guys have any questions about moving forward and being a client with the Primetime Sports Investors. Also, to watch all my shows and all my content and stuff like that, you guys, there's 2 channels that I'm on. The one channel that I work with, Fanatics View, you guys can catch all my NFL interviews on there, a lot of my boxing interviews on there. And then for the primetime angles, me and Jeff show the NFL Bet Exchange, horsing around, all that stuff. You guys can catch all that on Prime Wave Media, the YouTube page as well too. There's a lot of stuff that I have on there, and my daily show is on there as well too, which is either at 12 noon Pacific time or 1 p.m. Pacific time. It all depends on how timing is of the day, and some days I kind of want to let the lines kind of really show exactly who they are, because I messed up the other night, Jeff, because this is why I was able to call Furman winning yesterday, because Furman was at -8 the moment that they opened the line up on the game Sunday night. And then I looked up in the morning and I was watching Follow the Money. Yeah, shout out to Follow the Money too on VSiN. And if you guys I have it on my Spectrum. So pretty much that's the Laker network. So if you guys need a show in the morning that's not going to make your ears bleed, like Undisputed and Get Up and whatever, which one the other one's called, Jeff. Yeah, the ESPN FS1 shows. If you want to get out of that gossip filled situation, watch it. Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Mike Palm. Jeff Palm. That show is going. I love that show, Jeff. It's just like literally, it's just like damn near the same thing me and Jeff are doing right now. Talking numbers, talking college basketball, talking numbers, talking betting. That's what bettors do. So pretty much you guys can find me at all those places right there. I know I'm kind of going over, but there it is. There it is. You know, I just love talking to my man Jeff. And you guys can catch the show today. It's going to be at 1:00 as well. So if you guys are already following me on Twitter, just like this, you guys can see it on the Twitter, or you guys can watch it on Prime Wave Media, the YouTube channel. And if you are watching on my YouTube, please participate. I do like to answer questions.
The one and only Pop Dibiase at Prime Wave Media.
One more thing. All In, No Filter Network, Friday, 1:00. That show is a locked-in show. 1:00 Pacific time, No Filter Network, All In. That's my other show with Pop Dibiase. Hopefully Jeff comes in and we talk some college basketball this weekend.
Go follow him. If you're not following me, go over to EC Sports Invest. If you're not following me on YouTube, go over to East Coast Sports Investors and subscribe. It's free. Tell a friend. Always great to catch up with you, Pops, the one and only true OG, the prime time capper, and myself. Later today, myself and Riley flying solo for the closing bell at 7:00. Myself and Scotty Webb will be back talking some WBC, some MLB, and tomorrow's slate is off the charts. We will get that going for everyone. It's going to be a crescendo effect this week. We're going to get busier as we get closer to Selection Sunday. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from the one, the only Pop Dibiase at Pop Dibiase at Prime Time. We wish everyone a great day, a blessed day. Have some fun, and see you soon.